published fairly recently, which is entitled Hydrogen-Rich Water Reduces Inflammatory Responses and Prevents Apoptosis. Apoptosis is a naturally occurring cell death during development and is generally used to describe cell death of the body. Sometimes this can be good cell death, by the way, removing cells that need to be removed. Again, the title of the paper is Hydrogen-Rich Water Reduces Inflammatory Responses and Prevents Apoptosis of Peripheral Blood Cells in Healthy Adults, a randomized double-blind controlled trial. Now, this paper looked at the effects of drinking 1.5 liters per day of hydrogen-enriched water for a period of 4 weeks. They did find significant positive benefits of reduced inflammation, and they found these changes by way of analyzing things like interleukin 6 and some of the other interleukins, which are markers of inflammation. They controlled very nicely for the fact that people were still consuming other forms of water and liquid and coffee, et cetera, although they made sure that they weren't consuming too much coffee and soda in addition to this hydrogen-enriched water. But what this paper shows is that indeed, increasing the free hydrogen in water can improve certain health metrics in these cells. And this is in keeping with some of the subjective reports that people have stated out there and that I myself experienced. I have to say that by drinking hydrogen-rich water, which I'll tell you how to do fairly inexpensively in a moment, you do get the subjective experience of having more energy, of feeling better, quote unquote. Now, keep in mind, of course, the placebo effect is a very real and powerful effect, so it could just be placebo. Although in this paper, they did, of course, include a placebo group, so people didn't know if they were getting hydrogen-rich water or non-hydrogen-rich water. I should also mention that the improvements in health metrics that they observed in this study were only observed for individuals older than 30 years old. Why that is, I don't know. The conclusions these authors came to in terms of how these individuals older than 30 achieved lower levels, or I should say reduced levels of inflammation and improved markers of other aspects of biological function, is that the hydrogen water improved the biological antioxidant potential of certain cell types. And again, the cell types that they mainly focused on were these peripheral blood cells in this particular study. Now, how could this be? Why would this be? Well, this goes back to our earlier discussion about reduction in reactive oxygen species, so-called ROSs, and reductions in free radicals that can damage cells. So if all of this is sounding very convoluted, I can understand why. However, what I like about this study and the two reviews that I mentioned a moment ago is that these studies don't really say that hydrogen-rich water is what's essential. What these studies really point to is that the changes in pH of water that enhancing the hydrogen in water can create is what leads to the enhanced either absorption and or ability of cells to utilize that higher pH water. Again, not by changing the pH of the body or of cells, but simply because higher pH water, or we could perhaps more accurately state, less acidic water, that is harder water that contains more magnesium and calcium, seems to be more readily used by the cells of the body, and therefore it's very likely that the individuals in this study were achieving higher or more efficient levels of hydration. Okay, so if any of this is confusing, let me be very clear. I do not believe that we all need to drink deuterium-depleted water, or that we all need to drink electrolyzed reduced water, nor do I necessarily believe that we all need to drink hydrogen-rich water. However, it's very clear to me that all these different forms of water are better absorbed and therefore lead to better and more efficient hydration, and therefore can reduce inflammation, blood pressure, and improve a number of other health metrics because of the elevated pH that all of these different purification or water treatment methods achieve. And that elevated pH, again, is not changing the pH of the cells and tissues and organs of your body. You actually don't want that. Rather, that elevated pH is simply making the water less acidic than it would be otherwise.